We're going to take a closer look tonight at a foster care system in chaos. In Miami today, a judge demanded to know how Florida's Child Welfare Department could lose a 5-year-old girl for more than a year and not know that she was missing.
It is absolutely despicable what has happened in this case, and that I, who have the ultimate responsibility for this child, cannot perform my duties because I didn't even know the child was missing.
Judge knows, many people know, there are huge problems in this system which is supposed to protect the most vulnerable children. ABC's Brian Ross has been investigating.
Peter, this case comes as no real surprise to national authorities, simply more evidence of an overloaded, long, inept system in Florida.
Right now, there is probably no place in America where it is worse to be a foster child than the state of Florida.
And few know that better than 18-year-old Karina, who was found abandoned in a Miami park at the age of 6 and spent her entire childhood adrift in the Florida foster care system, shuffled from foster home to foster home.
Nobody came to see me. Nobody came to help me. Nobody came to make sure that I had clothes on my back. Nobody came to see if I was being fed. Nobody came to do nothing for me. Okay, nothing.
A shortage of foster homes meant she also spent years parked in a state mental facility for adults, heavily drugged to make her easier to control.
Everybody is drugged up like these zombies.
And Karina says throughout the time she was supposedly being protected by the state, she was subjected to severe physical punishment and repeated sexual abuse, with no one to turn to for help.
And I wanted to be like everybody else, too. I wanted to be like every other kid.
And leading authorities say her case is not an isolated one.
Let's remember, there are 374 children in the custody of the Florida Department of Children and Services whom they don't know the whereabouts of.
Richard Wexler, who runs the National Coalition for Child Protection Reform, says Florida efforts to protect children have instead created a foster care panic.
The state is taking away huge numbers of children who don't need to be in foster care. They don't have time to find children in real danger. They don't have time to do things like make the monthly checks on foster children. And that's what has plunged Florida into chaos.
The woman put in charge of the program by Governor Jeb Bush, Kathleen Carney, dismisses critics as overreacting.
The reality is we will never have a perfect system.
Today, Florida Governor Bush announced a blue ribbon panel to investigate the foster care system, a system that for more than a decade, Peter, has been the subject of numerous investigations, lawsuits, and exposés, and yet has managed somehow to go from bad to worse.
It's a bit chilling. Many thanks. Brian Ross here in New York. When we come back this evening, on the money trail, an unusual award the Republican Party was using to get donations. It is often said that raising money in politics is an art. Tonight, a slightly dubious, particularly stealthy form of fundraising art. This one comes from the Republicans. This is telemarketing and politics. ABC News has learned that the Republican Party is going after potential donors without actually telling them that it's after their money. Here's ABC's Linda Douglas on the money trail.
Roger Nelson is a project analyst in Wisconsin. He was surprised when he received a call telling him he had won an award from a congressman he had never heard of. Other businessmen got the same call.
You've been selected to receive our National Leadership Award, and we'd like to speak to you about your press release.
Nelson was asked to call back.
It was one of his senior aides who had said that I had been nominated for the National Leadership Award. I then asked who nominated me, and they were somewhat evasive about that.
Nelson was told he was probably selected from a list of small businessmen. He was then played a taped message from the congressman, Tom Davis of Virginia.
Congressman Davis invited Roger Nelson to join something called the Business Advisory Council. Here's what he said.
This is a high-level committee for business leaders like yourself, and I'm personally asking you to consider playing a leadership role.
One of Davis's aides explained what Nelson would get with his award.
You would also be invited to policy briefings with the movers and shakers in Washington. You would also be invited to private dinners with congressmen.
What Congressman Davis did not say is that he is the head of a Republican fundraising group. And there was one more thing.
With your permission, we'd like to include your name in a full-page Wall Street Journal ad we are running. We think your name will help.
My name would be included in the ad, and they asked that in order to do that, to fund that, that I make a donation of somewhere between $300 and $500.
Today, the Republicans conceded that some of the money raised for the ads is used to help elect Republican candidates, something never mentioned in the call. Roger Nelson is not sure how he was chosen. He is neither a small businessman nor a Republican. Linda Douglas, ABC News, Washington.
Right. When we come back, the final item in the broadcast this evening, what made Spider-Man soar at the box office? The anatomy of a blockbuster. It's time for a brief review of the main story today. 2 more pipe bombs were found in mailboxes in rural Nebraska and Colorado. There have now been 17 bombs, and 6 people have been injured. An awful lot of people are on edge. The FBI says that they come from a single source. So finally, this evening, after the year's first blockbuster weekend, the web-slinging Spider-Man has broken all records for a 3-day haul at the box office. More than $100 million in 3 days. So who, we asked, would we like to comment on that? ABC's Robert Krulwich.
Good movie, bad movie, who knows? What counts is on its opening weekend, Spider-Man made more money than any film opening in Hollywood history, about $114 million. Put another way, each second of the film has earned $15,702.48 already. So a very small moment, like Tobey Maguire rescuing Kirsten Dunst. She's going to drop her lunch tray with the apple, the milk, the sandwich, and the Jell-O. This will take 6 seconds. Here we go. Apple milk sandwich Jell-O.
Wow, great reflexes.
That 6 seconds earned $94,000 this weekend. Maybe because the movie showed on more screens. At some megaplexes, it was on 21 times each day. Maybe because in May there's not much competition from other blockbusters. Maybe the marketing was good. Hey, maybe the film's good. Whatever the reason, Spider-Man made 4 times more money on its opening weekend than the most successful movie ever, Titanic. And that's what's causing the excitement.
I'm the king of the world!
Titanic eventually earned 20 times its opening weekend gross. If Spider-Man does that, it will earn $2.3 billion, more than Tajikistan, Belize, and Sierra Leone.